Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for a very special and exciting Seabourn webinar. My name is Anna. I'm an Industry Relations Manager here at CLIA, and I'm going to just quickly go through some housekeeping before introducing our presenter. The webinar will run about 40 minutes with time for questions at the end. Please feel free to type your questions into the questions module of the webinar, and we'll get to them at the conclusion of the presentation. The webinar is being recorded and will be posted on CLIA's YouTube channel, which is CLIA Global. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter, Steve Smotrice. Steve is responsible for Seabourn's overall global sales efforts, leading the teams who support the travel advisor community in North America, Australia, Asia, and Latin America. He also oversees the global expedition sales efforts. Steve and the global sales team are so excited to begin this new chapter and telling the brand story about the power of Seabourn moments. And with that, take it away, Steve.
Okay, thank you, Anna, and hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a great Thursday, and I appreciate you taking the time to spend with me today. And we're going to do a nice Seabourn overview. So let's just dive in. There we go. Okay, so there's me, and so just jumping in here, we really like to refer to Seabourn as ultra luxury resorts at sea. You know, I think of it when you're looking at a parallel experience, it's much more like a private all-inclusive resort in, say, the Caribbean or Mexico, something like that. It's that kind of atmosphere on board. And I think, you know, especially, I think it's a huge opportunity for those people who aren't cruisers, that maybe there's a little bit of a stigma of what cruising is all about, that I think Seabourn can really be a great option for them to cross over and try a cruise, because obviously Seabourn is not a typical cruise, not what people typically think about. And it is very much a resort at sea. So this is our fleet. We've got the youngest luxury fleet in the cruise space. So our average age of our ships is about 8 years old, and that's not even taking into consideration our expedition ships. So just to kind of do a quick summary, we've got our 3 Odyssey class ships, Seabourn Odyssey, Sojourn, and Quest. And then our 2 newer ships, the Seabourn Encore and Ovation. And these ships are different, so mainly about 450 guests on the Odyssey class ship, about 600 on the on Encore and Ovation. Really the difference is there's kind of one additional deck on these ships. They are still very, very intimate, but still large enough where you have a lot of options on board. And then I will get into it a little bit more detail, but we've got 2 purpose-built expedition ships that will be joining our fleet. The first one, Seabourn Venture, joining us later this year. So really excited for that next chapter. But we're going to talk about the Onboard Experience, our ocean class ships primarily right now. And again, very much like a private resort. Just some of the great images here. We've got the retreat. This is on Odyssey, or sorry, this is on Ovation and Encore, the retreat. Really nice quiet space where people just want to relax. So many options to relax at a poolside or our spa, our wellness experience on board. A lot of great options during the day so you can kind of relax. But in the evening, very, very lively, a lot of entertainment. We do deck parties. One of my favorite spots on the ship is on the left, the Aft Pool. During the day, this is a very relaxed, you just want to get away. Not that it ever gets too crowded anywhere on board the ship, but if you want a little bit of quieter experience, just to relax, this is a great place during the day. In the evening, sometimes we do a deck party out here. We'll do it on the right. There is our main pool midship, where we'll do a deck party sometimes. And sometimes that's in our club, but it is a lot of different entertainment options, whether that's a show, whether that's going dancing, live band, piano bar, so many different options like that. A lot of different bars and clubs. Our observation bar is probably one of our favorites on board. It is high on the ship forward, and you've got this great view out into the ocean, very similar view to what the captain and his team have. The club is also very popular. That picture doesn't really do it justice there on the right. That's really just kind of the seating area. If you pan to the left there, There is a great stage where we have live bands most evenings and dancing, great dance floor, and another very popular place on board. Of course, if you're a luxury experience, you've got to have wonderful accommodations, and on Seabourn, it's never going to disappoint in that from that standpoint. All of our suites are oceanfront. A vast majority of them have verandas. So love the picture there on the left where you can really have any meal you would like served to you out on your private veranda. And this is a really popular experience. My first time sailing on Seabourn actually was about 5 years ago before I worked for the company. And this experience was like, I think kind of my introduction to what Seabourn was all about. My first morning, I woke up and I was on a work trip, so I really just wanted a little room service, quick bite. And I was amazed when they came. They set the table, as you can see there on the left. They said, would you like the inside? Would you like the under veranda? Of course, I'm going to pick the veranda. It was a beautiful morning. And it was like you were dining in one of the restaurants on board. The food was fantastic. It was a great presentation. So I highly encourage you, if you're on board, you've got to go have some meal, whether that's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, out on your private veranda for a really nice, intimate experience. All of our bathrooms are marble, floor to ceiling. Doesn't matter what your accommodations are. Really beautifully appointed, as you can see there. And so many different options from a suite standpoint. There at the bottom right is one of our penthouse suites. So, of course, we are going to have wonderful luxury accommodations on board. And if you're going to be a true luxury experience, you've got to have a wonderful culinary experience. We've got, even though our ships are relatively small, we have a lot of different options on board. So to just kind of go over some of these, on the right, we've got the Grill by Thomas Keller, very, very popular on board. It is one of our really great partnerships with Chef Thomas Keller. You might know of him from his very exclusive restaurants. Up in Napa, he has French Laundry, and in New York City, he has Per Se. So that is a very popular option. And then Earth and Ocean. This is some of the dishes that they have at Earth and Ocean. This is probably my favorite dining experience on board. It is an alfresco experience. It's what happens is kind of poolside in the evening, they transform it into a little bit of a restaurant with different decor and everything around there. And it is great seafood options, beautiful presentation. It's just fun, especially if you're someplace like the Caribbean or the Med, to be able to dine outside where the weather's fantastic. So this has become a very popular option on board as well. So I kind of alluded a little bit to our partnership with Thomas Keller, which is really important. And that's not just in the Thomas Keller Grill. That also kind of trickles into some of our other dining options, like in the Colonnade and the restaurant, where we have dishes that were inspired by Thomas Keller. But it doesn't matter where you are on board, you're going to have amazing cuisine. Some of our other partnerships, Adam Tahani, very famous in the luxury hotel and restaurant world as an interior designer. He was the chief designer for both Encore and Ovation, and also for our new expedition ships with Seabourn Venture and Pursuit coming next year. Much of our entertainment has been curated by Sir Tim Rice. I think a lot of people know that name, and so really wonderful to have him as a partner. And then Dr. Andrew Weil, and I don't know if a lot of people maybe don't know this unless you are really in tune with the wellness world, but I think it's important not just to have a great spa experience, which we do, great gym so you can have fitness, but also an overall wellness experience. I think a lot of guests are really looking for that. And on board Seabourn, we can create a full wellness experience. You can go on day one and they will, between classes, say massages, meditation, whatever you're interested in for enrichment. And when you think about a wellness experience, what you're really wanting to do is detach from your normal world and make some sort of change. And I can't think of a better way than being out at sea and having that wellness experience right there at your disposal, and have it built and designed to exactly what you are interested in. So some great partnerships that we have that we're very proud of at Seabourn. Seabourn is also a very active experience, even though I talked a lot about it being very relaxed on board and casual, but it is also a very active experience. Our ships are unique in design that the back, as you can see there, opens up to create a little marina. And we don't do this on every destination, but we do it frequently in the Caribbean and the Mediterranean. So we'll anchor in a beautiful spot and we'll open up the marina and we launch, as you can see, all the different water toys. So we've got a banana boat there, you got your paddle boat there. We've got a number of other experiences like kayaks that you can do as well. This is all free of charge, but it's a really fun experience, not only if you're partaking in it, but as you can see here, a lot of people go and just watch from the back of the ship. When you're down inside the opening there, before you come out onto the marina, they really make it a party. They've got music playing, and it's just a really fun atmosphere. Another signature experience that we do is our caviar on the surf. This typically happens when we're able to do a private beach day, as you can see there in the bottom left. And we find, so this is in St. Kitts. It's completely exclusive, really wonderful. We do a beach barbecue. We've got cocktails being served. And then the highlight is they bring out the caviar and the champagne on a surfboard. And you can see them in the bottom left. They're all kind of crowding around it. And then the top left, you see them more up close. It is such a highlight. Everybody has such a great time. It is one of my favorite days spending on board. So I've been talking a little bit about the onboard experience and what it's all about. And we've just launched a brand new ad campaign, and we wanted this ad campaign to be built around what makes Seabourn special on board. Obviously, there's a lot of great ships out there. As I mentioned, we're the youngest luxury fleet in the industry. We have the largest passenger to space ratio, and all these hardware things are important. But I think what really separates Seabourn and makes it special is the onboard experience. And at the heart of that is what we call Seabourn moments. And these are surprise and delight moments. They're anticipating what guests' needs are. And it is what I think we hear over and over from guests, what makes Seabourn really special to them. If you talk about our loyal guests that come back over and over again, they talk about the team on board. And the best way that I can describe it, because like I said, I sailed before I came and work for the company, and I've been on a lot of cruise experiences, and it really struck me as something different and special. And I think the best way to summarize it is, it's not just delivering high touch service, but it's also doing it in a way that feels genuine and authentic. It is very much a culture that's been built on board, where our team on board, they strive to deliver these Seabourn moments. They try to get to know the guests well. They remember your name. They remember your drink. And it's really a special experience. And unless you experience it, you can't fully articulate it. But when you feel it, you'll know it. And so this ad campaign is called "This Is Your Moment," and it's about celebrating these moments in life that mean so much to people. And I think, especially coming out of the pandemic, we can all appreciate the power of moments, the importance of moments, and really making the most of those. We all work so hard in our normal life, and when we go on vacation, we want to just be in the moment. We want to take it all in. And with Seabourn, you're really going to feel that. We're going to enhance those moments in every way that we can. So here, before I play this, so I'm going to play our commercial. I know video doesn't work great on these kind of platforms, but I think you'll get the gist of it. And you can always go to our YouTube page or on Go Seabourn to really get the full video if you don't get it here. So, but let's give the video a go.
This is your moment. This is where it all comes together. All those years of waking to the sunrise and burning the midnight oil, the raising and rejoicing, struggles that led to successes, successes that led you to this moment when it all falls into place, when you arrive at new views of yourself, or that person sleeping beside you the past 20 years, when you can hear the drumbeat of your heart, the call of the wild, the beckoning of new friends that feed your hunger to live the largest possible life. This is that moment.
Okay, I hope you got a little bit of feel for that. As I mentioned, this campaign was just launched in January, so this is just the beginning. We expect to really kind of evolve this a lot, but what I really love about it, we did an extensive search. I was actually in on the all the different ad agencies that did pitches for us. We did about 10 different ones. But this one, I think, really connected with all of us because we know the essence of what Seabourn is all about on board, and this really spoke to that. So we're really excited about this, and you'll be seeing this more and more as we roll out more advertising. Okay, so I'm going to shift gears a little bit now and talk about expedition. So really excited about this. Now, Seabourn's been doing expedition experiences for, well, actually going back to 2013, I believe. And most of that has been on Quest, where we've been taking Seabourn Quest down to Antarctica. And again, the unique design of our ships, where the back opens up, that enabled us to launch different expedition experiences like Zodiacs and things like that. We also have our Ventures by Seabourn program, where we do specifically up in Alaska, where again, we'll do a similar, we'll launch different experiences off the back of a ship off the marina. So we do have that program as well, but we really wanted to take this concept, all the learnings we've had in the expedition space, and really evolve it and take it to the next level. And that was with the building of 2 purpose-built expedition ships. So these ships are 132 oceanfront suites, so it's 264 guests on board. When you think about how much staff we have on board, the team, it's almost a 1-to-1. It's just a little short of 1-to-1. And that includes 26 expedition leaders. So, and that's we'll get into that a little bit more, but that's really important to the expedition experience. 8 different dining options on board. So relatively small ship, but a lot of dining options still. It is a PC6 ice strengthened hull. And what this means is it can go into polar regions with ice as thick as 6 feet. So it has that great capability. This is a state-of-the-art expedition ship in every sense. Lots and lots of deck space. This was really an important feature that our expedition team, because our expedition team, they've been on a lot of different expedition ships over the years. They've got a wealth of knowledge. And so when we went to design these ships, we asked them, what is missing from most expedition ships? And one of the things they really cited was there's not enough deck space, because when you're going to these really spectacular locations, you want to be outside, you want to be really taking in the energy and really taking in all your senses being activated by these great places that you're visiting. And so it's important to have a lot of deck space. And one of the largest deck spaces is actually out on the bow, where it's completely open deck space. And that's one of the best views, especially if you're going someplace like let's say you're cutting through ice up in the Arctic. To be out of the bow, leaning over and seeing that happening, there's nothing like it. And it is custom built to environmental compliance. This was really important. One of our priorities as a company across the board is environmental protection. Some of the features that this ship has, very efficient engines. It doesn't, we were always very conscious about the carbon footprint. It also has special stabilizers that it does not need to drop anchor. And that's really important if you're going to certain places where the environment under the ocean may be delicate. And so the ability to be able to stop and not drop anchor is really important. A number of different things like that through, I mean, company-wide, things like we've eliminated single-use plastics. This is a huge priority, not only for Seabourn, but our whole corporation at Carnival Corp. Okay, want to share some of the renderings. Now this is the Explorer's Lounge. This is, I think, a really good representation of the decor on board. As I mentioned, Adam Tahani is the chief designer for these ships as well. But we wanted to, even though we wanted to be a full luxury experience on board, we also wanted to reflect the experience. We wanted to reflect the places we're going to be visiting. And so it's very reminiscent of, say, a luxury ski lodge, something along those lines, but you can see very rustic, but still luxury in feel. And this is a great lounge. It's going to be really important for, you know, Expedition is all about creating community, that you're all doing this experience together with your fellow passengers, with the expedition team, with the whole team on board. It is truly an exploration, and that is all about the community and doing that together. And this is a great lounge to have that kind of interaction. As I mentioned, a lot of deck space. This is the Aft Pool. And as you can see, what a great place to be able to hang out and just really take in these amazing destinations that you're going to be visiting. As with our ocean ships, it's really important for us to make sure that we provide incredible accommodations. As you can see, like on our ocean ships, this bathroom, very similar, all marble, floor to ceiling. And then we've got really next level suites like our Winter Garden suite, as you can see there, a 2-story loft with a floor to ceiling window that spans both stories. And if you can imagine waking up in the morning with that view. So it's really fantastic accommodations as well. Once again, spa and wellness, very, very important. And we wanted to have that on board these expedition ships as well. Love the shot of the sauna. I don't think you've ever seen a sauna quite like this. You know, usually you don't have any window, and you're going to have a view to the wonderful locations and places that we're going to be visiting. As I mentioned, 8 different dining options on board, and for this smallest ship, that's very unique. So places like the restaurant, which is, we tried to create some connection to our ocean ships, even though this is not a cruise. It is a very different experience, but we still wanted, for those loyal Seabourn guests, we wanted to create some continuity from our ocean ships. So the restaurant is our main dining experience, and that is the same as our ocean ships. Also the Colonnade, another venue that is similar. We also have Seabourn Square, which is a very popular venue on board our ocean ships, also on our expedition ships. And great bars as well, like our Sky Bar there. My favorite there is the Constellation Lounge. Again, very similar to our ocean ships, front of the ship with this great panoramic view. What a great place for cocktails before dinner. Or if you just want like a nice coffee and a great view and a nice quiet place during the day, another great location. We talked about the Exploration Lounge. Now, a unique feature to our expedition ships also is our bow lounge. Now, as I mentioned, our bow is one of the largest deck spaces on board the ship, and we want people again outside. But then you can come inside from the bow, and you enter into this great bow lounge. And what it has, you can see all those monitors there, and this is the same navigational equipment that's happening on the bridge. So you're going to see, what the team on board the bridge is seeing. There's also cameras mounted throughout the ship, and so there's touch screens here that link into those cameras, and so you can see different views throughout the ship. Again, to all the places all the great views of places like the Arctic and the Antarctica and the Amazon. This is very interactive. As I mentioned, touchscreen. We'll probably have expedition leaders here to give you some storytelling about places that we're at and what we're seeing. And then, of course, you can have a nice cappuccino while you're relaxing here as well. Now, again, unlike a cruise, an expedition is all about the immersion into the places that we're going. And so this venue is the Discovery Center. This is really important. So a typical day on an expedition, let's say we're up in the Arctic and we're going to go see whales. And so we go out on the Zodiacs during the day and we're spending the day out there. And then you come back to the ship, go back to your wonderful accommodations, get cleaned up. And before dinner, we're all going to meet here about 5:30, 6 o'clock. And this is going to be kind of a recap of the day. And again, as I mentioned about the community, this all kind of brings that community together. We've all been experiencing this great adventure throughout the day. Then we're going to come back together again to talk about what we saw throughout the day. As you can see up there, there's this great LED screen. It's 32 feet wide by 8 feet tall. So think about like everything you saw being brought back to life here on this screen. And then we're going to have the expedition team come up and talk about the things we saw. So if we saw whales, we're going to have the marine biologists come up and talk about that. And it's not just them talking about it, it's also an interaction. It's Q&A, and it's really getting into everything that we saw and recapping the day, and also previewing what the plan is for the next day. Now, it is an expedition, so that could change depending on the opportunities throughout, as we're sailing along. But we really know that this is going to be a very popular part of the experience, again, creating full immersion. This ship is, we like to refer to it as no compromise. We've already seen all the great venues on board that's going to create a full luxury experience, but it is also equipped to deliver every expedition experience imaginable. Now, this is the landing zone, or referred to as the mudroom. This is where we will get ready each day for the experience that we're going to go, whether we're going to go on kayaks, whether we're going to go on the Zodiacs and go on land. Everybody's going to have their own heated locker. And so when you come back at the end, you'll put your equipment in the locker. And if you happen to get wet a little bit along the way, these lockers will dry them out, warm them, so you're ready for the next day as well. And we provide all the equipment that guests are going to need as well. Some of the experiences that you're going to have on board, hiking, snorkeling, scuba, Zodiacs, kayaks, and of course, submarines. We have 2 custom-built submarines. This is really beyond a bucket list experience. I think this is something that most people didn't think they'd have the opportunity to do in their life, and to be able to not only see someplace like Antarctica, but be able to go 1,000 feet under the ocean and really see it from a completely different perspective. And here's the submarines launching. This is going to be an incredible experience. It is about a $500 extra fee. It's one of the only experiences. This and kayaks are the only one that you have to pay for separately. And that's mainly because we know the submarine is a spectacular experience, but not everybody's going to be interested. And also we might not be able to accommodate everybody on board. And so that's why that is a separate charge. This is what it looks like from inside. Now the glass there is, these are acrylic spheres, and they are the same reflective index as water. So what our expedition leader always likes to say is, you don't know where the glass ends and the water begins, and that's really makes it feel like you're completely underwater. So I'm going to again try another video here, and this is narrated by our expedition leader, our head of expedition, Robin West, who will really give you some great storytelling about what our expedition experience will be all about.
An expedition vessel tends to go to the ends of the earth to be able to give you once in a lifetime wildlife viewing encounters. They're experiencing things, they're seeing things, they're opening their mind to things that they would never have thought about before. South Georgia is one of my favorite destinations in the world, and the guests actually think the beach is the highlight because it's just covered in wildlife. What they don't realize is that just over the hill is 250,000 pairs of king penguins in one large rookery staring at you. The only other destination in the world that I've been equally blown away by on the east coast of Greenland is a place called Scoresby Sound. It's the world's largest fjord system. It's pretty spectacular. We head into the Amazon. We're talking about a greater exploration of the Amazon. We go from Manaus all the way up to Iquitos. That sailing is an area that very, very few ships actually visit, and we're very excited to be able to take Seabourn Venture into such remote places in the Amazon. We also have 2 6-seater submarines on board the vessel, which has capabilities of diving down to 1,000 feet, 300 meters. The acrylic spheres have the same reflective index as water, and so when you go underwater, those acrylic spheres literally disappear. The first thing every single guest does when they're in the submarine, once it's gone under the water, is you see them do this because they don't know where the glass starts and where the water is. You've got as much view as the visibility allows. Antarctica touches everyone. It's a destination that looks like nothing else on this planet. Literally every single person you ever speak to goes to Antarctica will say to you, best trip I have ever done.
Okay, hopefully you will see that video again. If it was a little choppy, you want to see it again, it is on our YouTube channel, so please check that out. It is one of my favorite videos I think I've ever seen. It's really does a great job, I think, of bringing that whole experience to life. So Robin already kind of reflected on some of these, but just kind of let's go for a little bit of a journey in Venture's inaugural season, kind of where she'll be going, some of the places. So she'll be up in Norway and then going up into Svalbard, as you can see up there. She's going to do some great experiences out of Iceland, out of Reykjavik, going over to Greenland, as he mentioned, Scoresby Sound, the largest fjord system in the world. And he has mentioned that it is one of his favorite places in the world. So really in-depth experience between Iceland and Greenland to really kind of kick off her inaugural season. Then she's going to make her way down in these migrational crossings, coming down to the Caribbean, and then going through the canal and coming down South America. And I think everybody always thinks of the polar regions as being expedition, but there are so many different options out there. I think as an industry, and as we're all seeing this expedition space really kind of exploding, we're really just kind of scratching the surface. Obviously, those are kind of the quintessential. Here's Antarctica, as Robin discussed in length, as one of the places that people go and always say it's the best trip they've ever been on. And these are, of course, going to be core fundamental experiences for expedition. But as we bring on the second ship especially, you're going to see the breadth of offerings of different expedition destinations really expanding. So we'll spend next winter then down in Antarctica and down the tip of South America. And these are already close to selling out. So if you have guests that are interested in this, highly encourage them to book very, very soon, because this inaugural season down there will be selling out pretty quick. So after being down in Antarctica, she's going to make her way up the east coast of South America and then go into the Amazon. And this is going to be, again, a very different experience, but something that only this expedition ship can do. She's not only going to go in the Amazon, she's going to go all the way to Iquitos. And that is significantly further than most ships are able to go in the Amazon. So I think there's going to be, this is also proving to be very popular in bookings. So this isn't until next winter, and it's already getting close to filling as well. And then some other highlights, especially as we get to 23 and Seabourn Pursuit joins the fleet as well. We've got 2 ships that we're going to, as I mentioned, we're going to expand what we're going to be doing. And some bucket list experiences are doing the Northwest and Northeast passages and really going up over the Arctic Circle. So, you know, these are, again, experiences that I don't think most people thought they'd ever have the opportunity in their life to be able to do. These are, you know, stories of early exploration and going up over the Arctic, and you can actually do this today. So it's pretty incredible to have those kind of opportunities out there and still be able to do it, not like they did in the early years of exploration, be able to still do it in luxury. Now, obviously, beautiful ship, state of the art in every conceivable way, going to some incredible destinations. But what brings this whole experience together, the connective fiber, is our world-class expedition team we have on board. So in every single Seabourn expedition sailing, you're going to have a team of 26 expedition leaders. So when you think about the ship as 264 guests, it's a 1-to-10 ratio. So that's pretty incredible. And as I mentioned, you know, these expeditions are about doing this together, going through this, having this adventure together with your fellow guests. The expedition leaders, they are, you know, a collection of scientists and academics and naturalists, and they are really going to enhance this experience in every single way. So this is something we're really proud of. Robin has put together an amazing expedition team, and we know that they are going to really bring this experience to another level. We also have another partnership with Helly Hansen, so high-end outfitters, and you see the Parker right there. That is provided for every single guest. That is something you keep and take home with you, and there's a number of other things like that that Helly Hansen provides our guests as well. So that is, I think we're right around that 40-minute mark, and so that is my presentation, and I hope that gave you a nice overview of just Seabourn in general, what makes Seabourn special, and of course, what is going to be you know, special on our expedition experience on board. So I'm going to kick it over for any questions that we might have out there. So Hannah, can you help us there?
Perfect. Thank you so much. We do have some questions coming in, and I invite everybody to keep them coming. Our first question is from Carl, who is wondering if you can review the demographics of the average Seabourn passenger.
Yeah, great question. So on our ocean experience, average age is somewhere around 60. Net worth, or let's see, net worth is about close to about 2 million. Average annual household income is about 200,000. That's what we kind of see in general. Now the expedition skews a little bit younger on age, it's like kind of more the mid or low 50s. And you know, and I think we'll see this all evolve. You know, again, really, we've really taken a lot of time of enhancing the Seabourn experience on board. We think there's a great demographic out there that doesn't even know about Seabourn, and this new ad campaign's about that. We think the expedition will bring a new audience into Seabourn as well. So, but I think that gives you the kind of the foundational pieces of who they are. And let me add to that, from a sourcing standpoint, we're about 55% sourced from North America, about 15% from the UK, about 12% from Australia, and then the rest of it, and then I also think about 10 to 12% from the EU. And then it's really a sprinkling from all over the world. So it is a very international crowd on board. They tend to be, from a psychographic standpoint, guests tend to be very social. It's, as I mentioned, even though it is a very relaxed environment on board, it is also a very interactive group on board. People like to get to know each other and have that interaction. So But I think that hopefully helps give you a little bit of a snapshot of demos and psychographics.
Okay, great, thank you. And our next question is, are kids allowed on board?
Yes, kids are. We don't have kids center or anything like that, but so I think it's for the right kid. I was just on Seabourn Odyssey a couple months ago and saw some younger teenagers, and I think I was like poolside and asked them like, "Hey, are you bored?" And they're like, "Are you kidding? We love this." And so I think it depends on the kid and what they're looking for. We can take kids as young as 6 on the expedition. That is a requirement for, you have to be at least 6 to be on a Zodiac. So if you're going to be on an expedition, you want to be able to get on the Zodiac. So yeah, it is definitely kid friendly, but we're not doing kid programming or anything like that.
Okay, understood. Our next question is from Jane, who is wondering if casinos are on board.
Yes, we absolutely, not on the expedition ships, but on all of our ocean ships, we do have casinos, and that's slots. We've got a number of tables. So it's smaller. Obviously, I think it's in line with kind of the size of our ships, but it is large enough to I think satisfy every casino goer. So and we take a lot of pride in that even though our ships are smaller, and there's a huge advantage in that, and that we can go into a lot of smaller, intimate ports. And I think especially today, where people are looking to get away from crowds, that's a huge advantage. But then the ships are still large enough to have a lot of different offerings. As I mentioned, in the evening, you'll have a show each night. You'll have the piano bar up in the observation lounge. You've got the club where you'll have a live band. And then right next to the club is the casino. And I think that's a great fit to having those 2 venues right next to each other, because they kind of feed off of each other.
Okay, got it. And we have a few people wondering if you can review how handicap accessible the ship is, and if the cabins on board are wheelchair accessible for those who are content to just stay on board.
Yes, very. We want to make it very accessible throughout the ship. There's not any place on any of our ships that you can't go if you're down to a wheelchair. We do have ADA suites as well. One of the questions I get a lot is if you've got mobility challenges, even being in a wheelchair, can you still go on an expedition? And the answer is absolutely yes, because even if you're in a wheelchair, we can still get you on the Zodiacs, and that's the core experience on board our expedition experiences. And so we really want this to be an accessible experience for everyone and anyone. So that is a huge priority, to make sure that we are accessible like that.
Okay, understood. Thank you. We have a few people wondering if you can speak to solo travelers.
Solo travels, yes, great question. I get this question a lot. I think we're all seeing that audience is growing significantly. We really do. We do actually a lot of programming for solo travelers. We have usually kind of mixers and things for those guests if they want to kind of bonds for that time. As I mentioned, very, very social on board. But even if you are, so let's say traveling solo, I was just talking to somebody recently who said that they did on Seabourn, and they said, I was never dining alone at night, because either somebody would invite me, or either one of the officers or people I got to know on the ship invited me. So I think that's becoming such a norm now on board that people are very comfortable traveling solo. We do have some pricing advantage for solo travelers who typically do about a 1.75 or 175%. Sometimes on sailings where we have a little bit of need, we might go down to about a 150%. If you're talking about premium suites, though, because the demand on those is so high, those are typically 200%. So just to give you an idea from a pricing standpoint. And as I mentioned on the expedition, it is such a community on board. Everybody's interacting. Everybody is mixing on a regular basis. So I would be very, very comfortable traveling solo on expedition, but also on our ocean ships.
Okay, got it. Our next question is from Edward, who is wondering what months will you be sailing to Iceland?
Iceland, I believe Iceland is in September. So this coming September, and there's definitely some space on that one still, even though it's selling well. But that is going to be such a great experience. You're going to get really in-depth Iceland, really going all completely around the island. So yeah, September is definitely the date that Venture will be there this year.
Okay. And Tanisha is wondering, in your opinion, what is the best season for the expedition trips?
The best, say that again, the best what?
The best season?
The best season for expedition. So it really depends on what you're looking for. So in the summertime, you want to get up into the Arctic, get up there to see polar bears in their natural habitat, going up to Greenland and really, seeing places like Scoresby Sound and really doing, also, and it's also, expedition is also about cultural immersion. And so some of the smaller towns up there and getting some of the storytelling from, say, a historian when we have on board. And then in the winter, primarily we're going to be down in Antarctica, obviously a highlight. As I mentioned, the breadth of the offerings is going to really expand. Once we have the second ship, we're going to be doing places like the South Pacific. And that's a completely different experience. When you think about you're doing an itinerary that's like the Solomon Islands, and you're going ashore and doing cultural immersion. We think of expedition, I think, as kind of natural or nature immersion. It's also cultural. And then an itinerary like that will use the submarine to go down and see World War II wreckages. So that's a completely different experience. Then things like going to Australia and doing the Kimberley. So there again, and we're going to go up to Japan and do an expedition up there. The British Isles. There's places that I don't think people think of expedition when you say that word, but as I mentioned, we're just scratching the surface of all these different expedition experiences that are available around the world.
Got it. And speaking of Antarctica, Lori is wondering if you max out at 199 agents or guests for Antarctica.
So we don't. So I know the landing is limited to, I believe, 99 guests that can go landfall. So what we kind of do is we split the day. So half of the guests will go on land, let's say in the morning, and the others will go out on the Zodiac and go look for whales and other things like that. And then in the afternoon we'll swap it. So even though we are 264 guests, we find ways of managing that. And there's the requirements in places like Antarctica and the Arctic and the regulations. They're really important. They're all about protecting the environment, and we're very sensitive to that. As I mentioned, it is a huge priority, not just for our expedition experiences. It is a huge priority company-wide of everything that we do. We want to be in compliance. We want to be protecting the environment. But we find ways to manage that to make sure that everybody gets the ultimate expedition experience.
Okay, perfect. And we just have one more question that I know you went over, and if you could just clarify, we have a few people wondering if excursions are included on ocean and expedition voyages.
Yeah, great question. We are all inclusive across the board. The one thing let's just talk ocean first. But we do not include excursions on our ocean ships. The reason, and that was a conscious decision. We've talked about it a lot, and it's not like it's off the table. We might still revisit it. But the feedback we heard from our loyal guests and even non-Seabourn guests is there's some reluctance to having an excursion included, because it's not like you get any excursion you want. It's really like, you get a choice of 2 or 3, let's say. But we found a lot of our guests want to do, say, a private car experience. And even though, like, I wouldn't say our guests are price sensitive, they still want to know that they're getting full value. And so if they're in their minds, it's, well, I've already paid for this excursion. You lumped it into my cruise fare, but that's not what I wanted to do. So we really felt that we want to create the flexibility, and we can do things like design a private car experience to go and see what they want to see in a certain port. Or they can take one of our prearranged excursions that are out there as well. So that was kind of the thinking behind that. Now on expedition, it's a little bit different. We're going to have excursions that are meaningful. It's not like you're gonna go someplace like Svalbard. There's not like a ton of things to do, but we want to find the best experience for everybody, so they're all experiencing that together. And those are included in your cruise fare. And all the experiences that we do on the Zodiacs and things like that, those are all included. The only thing, as I mentioned, is the submarine and the kayaks. Those are a small surcharge. There are other options. Let's say if we end a sailing in, let's say a good example, like Reykjavik, and people might want to go and do their own thing in Reykjavik, and so there are some different options there. But for the most part, most experiences on the expedition are included.
Okay, got it. And those are all of our questions. So thank you so much, Steve, for all of that wonderful information. And thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you joining, and we look forward to building the partnership with you further.
Have a great rest of your week, everyone. Bye.